Illuminator. The Illuminators came into the land around the same time that the clerics joined the great battle. They united with the clerics, and many times it was their magic that turned the tide of the battlefield. Illuminators are a purely defensive character that lives by the mantra, "The best offense is a strong defense." They're a highly sought-after group since they are few and are a close-knit community. An Illuminator will not make friends easily, but when you have earned their trust, they will defend their friends to the end. Illuminators use the magic around them, much the same way a wizard does. They take these forces in the natural world and bind them to their will. An Illuminator's job is to help keep all the characters alive and to slow down the enemy. They try to do this in a non-lethal way. Because of this train of thought, the Illuminators get along very well with the healing clerics and many times are guests at their temple. Illuminators look like tall, well-built humans. They like theatrics, so they usually wear long, full-bodied cloaks, which they can enchant when needed. They start with a full-body light shield and a large club. Illuminators have enough magic for 20 spell slots. The following are the spells that an Illuminator starts with. Personal Protection causes a protective covering around the caster/companion that can withstand various amounts of hits. Duration is dice dependent. The amount of hits the protection can withstand is the number from the one roll of the die. Speed speeds up a character to twice their natural speed for up to 4 actions per turn. Duration is dice dependent. Slow slows down a character to half their normal speed for a time. Duration is dice dependent. Web, a large sticky web that the caster can throw out to capture an enemy. It shoots at the enemy as a small glowing ball and explodes on impact. Duration is dice dependent. Wall, a stone wall that can block incoming objects or people about 4 feet wide by 6 feet high. Duration is dice dependent. The following spells can be earned through adventuring. Minor spells. Sleep puts targets to sleep. Duration is dice dependent. Frostville, the target is immune to ice. Duration is dice dependent. Fireman spell, the target is immune to fire. Duration is dice dependent. Resist darkness, the target is resistant to all darkness-based attacks. Duration is dice dependent. Ampere, the target is immune to all electrical attacks. Duration is dice dependent. Ice wall, caster makes a solid barrier of ice to protect him/herself. Duration is dice dependent. Detect traps, the caster can detect all traps in a certain area. Duration is dice dependent. Air travel allows the caster/companions to run through the air to a certain destination or to stop when falling. Duration is dice dependent. Disarm traps, all traps in a 20-foot radius are nullified. Friendship, the caster becomes best friends with the target of the spell. Duration is dice dependent. Blinding wind, the wind comes at the caster's call to cause blindness in the target. Duration is dice dependent. Disguise, the caster can take the disguise of anyone she has ever seen. Duration is dice dependent. Easy climb, the caster can run up a rope or climb any structure with ease. Duration is dice dependent. Blinding light causes a light that will cause blindness to all who look at it. Duration is dice dependent. Pegasus, the steed of the caster grows wings and can fly. Duration is dice dependent. Rebuke, the caster causes the target to not want to battle with him/her anymore. Duration is dice dependent. Message, the caster can send any of his/her companions a message, no matter how far away they are. Mid-level spells. Stunning causes an enemy to become stunned. Duration is dice dependent. Steel bands wrap up a target. Duration is dice dependent. Weapon heat causes all weapons on the target to heat up. Duration is dice dependent. Enchant object, caster enchants an object, causing it to become more powerful, or in the case of weapons, causing more damage. Duration is dice dependent. Air thickens causes air to thicken, creating a barrier to stop weapons/enemies from advancing. Duration is dice dependent. Earth and protection. The earth rises and protects the target, either deflecting attacks or burying the enemies alive. Duration is dice dependent. Blinding weapons causes all the target's weapons to become exceedingly shiny and reflect all light in the area. Does not affect the target. Duration is dice dependent. Binding wind. The wind comes to the caster's bidding to tie up the target. Duration is dice dependent. Magical binding causes magical ropes to tie up an individual of the caster's choosing. Duration is dice dependent. Enchanted steed. Caster calls forth a steed with speed and endurance 5 times that of a regular steed. Duration is dice dependent. Terror. The caster causes the target to become terrified of an unknown being. Duration is dice dependent. Train animal. Any animal will instantly be trained to serve the needs of the caster. The size of the animal is dependent on the strength of the caster. Duration is dice dependent. Tracking. The caster can track a target anywhere, even over water or rock. Duration is dice dependent. The caster must have seen the target at some point for the spell to work. Ferocity. The caster causes the target to become exceedingly ferocious, and the target can now take 3 to 4 mortal hits before being stopped. Duration is dice dependent. Disorientation causes enemies to become confused and either miss shots or not hit with melee attacks. Duration is dice dependent. Lionheart causes the target to only want to help the companions out. Duration is dice dependent. Fear causes the enemy to run in fear from the caster. Duration is dice dependent. Distracting. The caster causes a noise to sound to draw away the attention of guards or enemies. The time that the distraction is searched for will depend on the strength of the caster. Blindness causes the target to become blind. Duration is dice dependent. Evil eye. The caster glares at the target, causing them to freeze in place. Duration is dice dependent. Madness can cause the target to become insane, attacking everyone around the target. In this state, the target has increased strength, agility, and the ability to receive multiple mortal wounds without dying. Duration is dice dependent. Ball of healing. A glowing ball surrounds the caster, healing all friendly units nearby and the caster as they are hurt. Duration is dice dependent. Stone walk. The caster can walk through solid stone. Duration is dice dependent. Phantom stag. The caster calls forth a large stag made of shadows that can act as protection, a guide, or as a scout for the caster. The caster can see through the eyes of the stag. Duration is dice dependent. The stag is only hurt by magical weapons and attacks. Moon rapture. The target gets enthralled by the moon and ignores everything else. Duration is dice dependent. Spider spell. The caster can climb and jump with the agility of a spider. Duration is dice dependent. Mind protection. The target is immune to all mind attacks. Duration is dice dependent. Chameleon spell. The caster can blend into any background to avoid detection. The caster must move slowly for the spell to keep the caster hidden. Duration is dice dependent. Mana pilfer. Caster takes 1/2 of the spell slots of the target to recharge his or her own. Mountain stance. The caster can withstand any rush attack and not be moved. The caster has his or her feet planted with the power of the mountains. Duration is dice dependent. Anti-magic. The caster causes all magic in an area to become nullified. The size of the area is dice dependent. The caster still can use magic. Ooze. The caster can slip through any space or opening, no matter how small. Duration is dice dependent. Melt. The caster/target becomes a pool of liquid and can squeeze through any opening or dodge any non-magical attack. Duration is dice dependent. Reverse. The caster causes the attack to turn back on the attacker. Wards. Caster can set a magic perimeter guard around a place, such as a campsite, or around an object, such as a spellbook. The wards may cause a ball of fire, a bolt of lightning, a paralyzing attack, a ball of acid attack, or any other kind of deterrent or alarm. Dismiss summoned being. The target of the spell is sent back to whatever plane it is from. This spell dismisses one summoned being. Dismiss summoned beings group. The targets of the spell are sent back to whatever plane they are from. This spell dismisses one group of summoned beings. Gather weapons. The target's weapons are all drawn to the caster's hands. Shadow radiance. The caster causes a dark aura to surround them, stealing the light from the general vicinity. Duration is dice dependent. Wall of fog. The caster creates a wall of thick black fog that encircles them. Enemies cannot see through this wall, and all non-magical ranged attacks will stick to the wall. The caster can see from inside the wall. Duration is dice dependent. Multicolored shield. The caster creates a shield of 4 colors. Red blocks fire, white blocks ice, gray blocks range attacks, and orange blocks magical spells. The shield can take 4 hits for each color before it no longer stops that substance. Ghost trap. The caster calls forth a phantom spirit to grab hold of the target. The target becomes paralyzed and can't move. Duration is dice dependent. Tear. The target gets something torn from them, either a sword, a bow, or a body part. Moving eye. The caster can see through any substance for up to 100 feet in any direction. Duration is dice dependent. Major spells. Octopi. The target grows up to 10 large 6-foot-long tentacles out of their back. They have the power to crush any non-magical armor and bend any non-magical weapon. These tentacles obey the will of the target. Duration is dice dependent. Dragon Might. Caster receives the strength of a small dragon. Duration is dice dependent. Phase. Caster can move from one patch of light to another. The caster must see both the starting and end points. Bubble. Causes a bubble around the wizard/companion to act as a protective barrier. The person in the bubble can fire out if it is the Illuminator's wish. Can also capture enemies in a bubble. Duration is dice dependent. Dreamwalker. The caster can leave his physical body and move around as a specter. This specter can pass through solid objects and is only detected by magical means. Duration is dice dependent. Multiplication. An image of the caster/companion comes forth to confuse the attacker for a certain time. Duration is dice dependent. The image has no attack ability, and the caster takes no damage if the image is hit. Blowhard. The target becomes a huge, round ball made of flesh and slowly rolls in whatever direction the wind is blowing. Duration is dice dependent. Invisibility. Caster vanishes from the sight for a certain time. Duration is dice dependent. While invisibly, the caster cannot be detected by magic or non-magic means. If the caster attacks or does magic, then the spell is broken. Mental fog. The target is now immune to all non-magical attacks that have metal in them. These attacks will now just pass through the intended victim as if he were made of fog. Duration is dice dependent. Helping hands. Up to 20 floating gauntlet-covered hands surround the target, catching any incoming non-magical attacks and dropping them to the ground. They will also strike out at all charging enemies. Duration is dice dependent. Hellish Hordes. Calls forth 10 demons armed with claws and fangs to protect the caster. Duration is dice dependent. Weight of the mountains. The target is held in place by a weight as heavy as a large mountain. It is up to the caster to decide if the target gets crushed or just pinned down. Duration is dice dependent. Gate. The caster opens a doorway between 2 points, and it stays open so that others can travel through it. The length of time that the doorway stays open is proportional to the strength of the caster. The caster can close the gate at any time. Permanent gate. The caster opens a permanent doorway between 2 points, and it stays open so that others can travel through it. This gate does not draw power from the caster, and the caster can close the gate at any time. Cloning. 2 to 4 copies of the caster appear, each bearing the weapons of the caster when the spell was cast. Duration is dice dependent. The caster controls the actions of the clones. The clones cause damage, but the caster takes no damage if the clones are hit. Teleport. The caster moves from one point to another instantly. The caster must see the beginning and the end of the target locations. Transformation. The target can transform into an animal of choice. Animal size and strength will depend on the wizard's ability. Duration is dice dependent. Heavenly Host calls forth a group, 15, of winged warriors to protect the caster. Duration is dice dependent. All warriors are armed with a sword and shield. These warriors do massive damage to the undead. Monster transformation. The target can change into any monster of choice. Monster size and strength will depend on the wizard's ability. Duration is dice dependent. Invincibility. The target is immune to all attacks. While this spell is active, the caster cannot do any other spells. Duration is dice dependent.